Well, welcome back, Maverick Traders. It's Joe. It's ThinkorSwim time. Let's get into the stock scanner. A pretty simple tool at first, but I just figured I would show you a little bit of the navigation prowess and how I use it. Just kind of an overview of what to look for, where to customize your scans, saving a scan query, which is really cool, by the way. It's an updated watch list that will continue to populate based on the results that you put in when it comes to the scan criteria. That's right. Now, guys, I'm not going to give you everything there is to know about this because it is very intensive when it comes to how many different things you can do. I'm just going to show you how I use it and just give you a couple of places to take a look at and do your own research, because this can be, boy, as customizable as you want to get. And folks, you know, here at Maverick, having your own personal trading plan and trading your own personality is super important. There's so many different ways to skin a cat in this business, so many successful types of trading. It just depends on the discipline that you like. This will just allow you to be anyone you want, so keep that in mind. Now, guys, I don't work for ThinkorSwim. I do use them a lot. I think they're great, so just take this for what it is. Take responsibility for the outcome. Let's jump into the software and get going. The first thing I'm going to see is my SPX chart, or basically the last chart I was looking at. This is basically how I leave my ThinkorSwim each day. It depends on whatever you guys do. It's totally up to you. What we're going to focus on is this scan tab up at the top. Now, guys, whether you've played with this in the past or you are privy to it or you know exactly what you're talking about or it's brand new to you, I always like to go all the way over here to the right and hit that reset button. Hit yes, because this starts it over. Now, since I did that, you can see that I've got filter boxes already add to this. There's three of them here, and they're going to be very specific to the stock hacker because that's where I started from. Now, I'm going to take you a step further back because there are a couple things to look at. First off, on the top left, you have very specific areas that the scan is going to look for. Scan in, intersect with, and exclude. What's really cool about this is you can get specific to a sector, an index. You can get into anything you can think of. There are all sorts of different types of drop-down categories. I suggest getting as specific as possible due to the fact that we're going to run these scans 2 to 3 times a week. So category-wise, all symbols, all stocks, indices, all futures, depending on what you're at. Okay, that's a little generalized. But if I can start with my top-down approach that you guys have learned with Maverick, and I could get to a specific sector I want to scan, then this becomes not only easier, but a lot more efficient. And you're going to find it's super easy to build watch lists if you get to a specific area to begin with. So, hey, since it's up here, I'm going to go to energy. So I'm going to select energy. Now, folks, once again, we've got tons of videos. You selected energy by what? Your top-down approach. Maybe it's the weakest sector, the strongest sector, the most outperforming. You got some bulls you want to look at. Energy is the strongest sector. Whatever your reasons are to choose the sector, that's how you do it. Now, what's really cool is you can also intersect this with things. And what means intersect this is, let's say I want to look for energy stocks. I don't know why you would, but let's do this. Specifically to the NASDAQ, specifically to the New York Stock Exchange. Here's something that's super helpful. Optionable stocks within the energy sector. Now, guys, there's this choice here, and I could select this. But there's something more specific for you Maverick traders that are doing this twice, 2 to 3 times a week. I'm going to go over to public R through W and take a look at it, folks. Weeklies. Now this is going to scan for any options, or I should say energy stocks that have weekly options expirations. Now let's say we've already ran this scan, right? You've already ran this scan and you're sick of seeing New York Stock Exchange energy sector. NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange. You're sick of seeing anything specific to whatever category. You can actually exclude that. So if you've run a scan on ETFs, if you ran a scan on a specific sector or an industry group. Now, guys, notice that when I went to this energy sector, I'll go back to it. I actually went to all energy. If you did something in a specific sector or subcategory that you want to exclude, you can do that here. I'm going to leave this as none for now. So now you can see that we have an overall before we even got to our filters. Isn't that nice? So it's really cool. Now I'm going to go basic filters, the things that I use all the time. This is specific to stock. I'm going to go to last price because I want to make sure that these stocks are above 20 bucks but below, I don't know, let's say 100. So you just type in 20, click over here. I'm going to, well, that's 10,000. Let's knock this down to 100. Hit enter. Now I've got a range between $20 and 100. Now what's really cool about this is it's giving me a visualization of what I've squoze down between 20 and 100. Now there's a histogram back here. Take a look in the past, behind this I should say, there's a histogram. If I click in the middle of this and slide upward, this will show me that there might be more stocks available between these prices or the others. And I could slide this down as a group. This is going to be between 20 and 100, so it's going to keep that same range. I can always expand it by clicking and holding and dragging up. This increases the upside, or I can click and hold and drag to the downside, so on and so forth. But if you're looking for a very specific target like I am, you can just type in 20, hit that enter button, go back in here. I think it's a double click, 100, hit enter. And it'll give you what you're looking for. It looks like there's 17 matches within our criteria. Remember, folks, energy, weeklies, that's what we're looking for. Now, the next volume, kind of cool because that's what I was looking for. It gave me a default of volume. I need at least 1 million, and that is 100,000. And let's hit enter. Let's see if that's enough. Yep, there's 1 million shares. On the upside, it doesn't matter. Now, what's cool, well, to me, it doesn't matter. Now, it's neat. Once again, there's a histogram. You can see that there's a lot of stocks in this area. That means I'm pretty tight. I could actually bring this down and not really exclude anything to the upside. It's totally up to you. Now, the other thing we might want to do, and I'm just kind of adding this, once again, folks, I'm pretty neutral. I'm pretty loose when it comes to my scan because I put a lot more on my eye than I do anything numbers-wise. But let's go ahead and do a beta. Let's see if I can get a beta of at least 1. I don't care how high it goes, but I want a beta of at least 1. And you can see that it does have this sliding scale here, so I can just shrink this down a little bit to an area of anywhere from a beta of 1 to 2.8. Gives me 28 matches. Now this is super tight, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit scan. This should be completely fine, and it gives me the symbols. Now that's awesome. I'm a guy that scans 2 to 3 times a week. I don't need 500 stocks. I need a handful of stocks. This is just the energy sector. Folks, if I ran it for the whole thing, I imagine I'd have at least 10 times this. But I like to do it scan by scan, sector by sector, take my time and work my way through it. Now what's way cool about this, there's a couple things you can do here. We can go up to the top right, just above where the scan results are, click, and you can say save watch list. Now I was telling you guys about a query, which is really neat because if I go up to this area, I can save it as a query. Now what's really cool about this is you're actually saving the scan criteria you set up for the specific scan. Now I'm going to make this pretty easy because I scan a lot, so I'm going to type this in as energy and I'm going to give it a date. Now you don't necessarily have to give it a date because if you keep the query up, it will continue to pull that criteria every time the software is active. So you'll have that energy watch list and it's going to constantly update based on the criteria sent. Now why I like to keep it as a specific date is because I know the last time I manually ran it. Right? That's cool. It just depends. Are you passive or are you active? Now notice when I hit the save, all of the stocks just disappeared. That's because it is now in its own sector. Now I could I could come up with my own watch list. I can go down here, hit add. You go to watch list. I'm just going to use an existing one that I have here. You guys can see I've got a ton. And I'm just going to look for my watch list. And it's going to be under personal. Now, energy, and it shows the date. Notice that it's got that little purple circle, which is very familiar or very similar to the one that's up there at the Stock Hacker. This means that this watch list is active. So let's go ahead and open it. And you can see, let me drag this down. As new stocks enter or leave my scan criteria, they will enter or leave my watch list. One last thing I wanted to show you guys before I cut you loose. Once again, you guys could get in here and go as crazy as you want. Please do. Is I just like to go ahead and make sure that they're linked. I'll just hit red because that's what my chart's for. And I've got my chart linked to red. Now I can just click on them and it'll populate the chart. There's ConocoPhillips. There's Devon. So on and so forth. Now, I found something that's kind of neat, folks. Let's say that you and I have been bumping around for these. We're doing some top-down approach. We got our weekend going on. If there's a couple I like to highlight them. And it's easy to do with a quick control spacebar. So let's get through a couple of these. Let's say that I like Halliburton. I hit control, hold down control, hit spacebar. You guys can see, I'm going to move away from it, that it's got a little check mark there. That means it's a stock that I liked. Now you got to keep in mind, guys, I'm looking at these day to day. These could change. And in fact, based on the query, if it indeed loses what I scanned for, it will disappear. So I might come back to Halliburton and it'll be gone. And I'll be wondering why. Well, it's because it no longer adheres to the scan. Pretty cool. Let's do another one. Here's MRO. Hold down control. Spacebar. I like that one. I'm making these up, folks. I'm not really looking into them. I'm just giving you examples. Let's look at Schlumberger. I like that. Control, spacebar, so on and so forth. You guys can see that these are highlighted. That way, if you leave, you come back, or there's something you want to look at, you know exactly where you left off. All right, guys, like I say, this was not going to be too long of a video. I just wanted to give you a quick breakdown. You guys can see how there's many, many things you can do when it comes to the scanning part of ThinkorSwim. This is basically how I use it. I'm very active with it. So I probably don't utilize the majority of what the tools that you probably can with this thing. I just do it for what it is, and then I go from there. All right, thank you so much for joining me. We'll talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.